Aptus Ecozen is an enzyme product that's important to use throughout your entire growing cycle, both vegetative and bloom phase, to keep your root area and your growing medium clean and vibrant so that the microlife and the roots can interact in the ways that they're supposed to in nature. Some of the benefits of using Ecozen is the growing mediums can be used for much longer, and they can even be recycled and used for multiple cycles. And instead of having to throw away your growing medium and all that extra expense, when you use Ecozen, it's going to help keep that root area clean, as well as stabilize the EC in mediums and prevent salt accumulation, particularly when you're using some sort of synthetic type of NPK-based nutrient. Ecozen is going to help keep the root system and the medium clean from dead and rotting organic material, as well as stimulate microbe activity in that growing medium. And when you've got a healthy microlife, it's the most essential thing to prevent nutrient lockout and to stimulate your plants in a very natural and biological way. Ecozen contains an enzyme complex called cellulase, and cellulase is responsible for breaking down cellulose, which is the plant fiber material, particularly in dead root material. So as part of the natural plant processes, roots live and die and grow, and as they die, you don't want that rotting organic material to stay in the growing medium. Ecozen will help break that down into plant available nutrients and other materials. It's going to keep the root area clean so that microlife can have access to the living roots instead of being blocked by all this dead rotting material. In addition, Ecozen contains beta-glucanase, which is an enzyme responsible for breaking down and transforming precipitated nutrient salts into plant-available nutrients. This is going to help with mineral buildup and lockout, which comes when minerals are out of balance and antagonistic against one another in the growing medium. It's going to keep the root area clean and keep that microlife very active. Finally, Ecozen contains some polysaccharide sugars, which is an ideal form of sugar for microbial use. In addition, it mimics the form of sugars that's secreted by the plant root system, and so it's a very natural form that treats and tricks the plant into believing it's in nature versus in a simulated environment. It's also going to stimulate microlife development as well as the nutrient uptake. And it's also got some manganese in it, which is a very important microelement for stimulating microlife activity, as well as helping to stabilize the solution. In fact, if you're going to do a test with Ecozen against other enzyme products, it's very important that you must dilute Ecozen in water first, because in its pure concentrated form, it's a stabilized enzyme and it actually won't work in pure form. It must be diluted in water to activate the enzymes. When you're using Ecozen, there's a couple considerations you want to make sure that you keep in mind. First of all, you always want to add Ecozen right before feeding. If you leave it in your feed mix for too long, the enzymes can start to have effect on the nutrients that exist in your feed water and start to break them down into different forms that aren't necessarily beneficial. So you can use it two ways. You can use it every feeding, if you're feeding by hand, say in a drain to waste type of situation, at 1 ml per gallon or 5 ml per 5 gallons for every single drop of water that you use. Depending on your feeding habits, if you want to feed once a week with Ecozen, perhaps you do some sort of a flush or a water-only feed once a week, you would double up the dose and use 2 ml per gallon or 10 ml per 5 gallons in a once-a-week application. Always want to make sure, it's very important that you use clean measuring tools and avoid contamination of the concentrated solution. As I mentioned before, the enzymes are activated when they hit water, and so if you get any water into the bottle, it can start to break down that solution. Stored in an enclosed and a temperature-controlled environment to make sure that it lasts as long as possible. As always with Aptus, education is power, and it's very, very important to us, and I hope it's very important to you. Aptus educators are always eager to help out to make sure that when you're using Aptus, you get the maximum results and the best quality of produce that you possibly can. So for more information, more education on Ecozen, as well as the other plant boosters in the premium collection, go to aptus-usa.com/education.